As if Ripple didn't need any more strength for their case against the SEC, they just won again. And so in today's video, I'm going to talk about what John Deaton, an outside attorney representing 22 or 23,000 XRP holders that is trying to intervene in the case of the SEC versus Ripple. I'm going to tell you about what he just accomplished and what it could actually mean for the case. And if you're on the internet at all whatsoever, you probably heard that Facebook was down earlier yesterday. It was down for about 6 hours. I'm going to have some information about what Facebook's saying caused it, how much money Mark Zuckerberg actually lost, and was it actually due to them trying to cover up a whistleblower? Well, I've seen the whistleblower report. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. In another cryptocurrency news, the Federal Reserve will begin this week talking about reviewing CBDCs. And JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, who thinks Bitcoin does not have any intrinsic value, says it's going to 10x. And if you're also interested, I had an interesting conversation with David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, about filters and censorship. We had that discussion on Twitter, so you can go and check out my Twitter profile. There's a link in the description below if you want to go check that out. Hey everybody, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus SEC case, along with other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any of those topics interest you and you want to follow along, make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the bell notification icon so YouTube will send you a notification. And of course, I believe people in the crypto space are the most generous people on the planet. So if you're feeling generous today, I'd really appreciate it if you do two things for me. Number one, smash that thumbs up button. And number two, watch this video all the way to the end. Those are really the two best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So if you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, well, let's jump into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the outage that Facebook caused and caused panic across a lot of the internet and well, applause, laughter, and snide comments about Facebook never coming back. Well, if you were like my wife, you were in a bit of a panic because you were wondering what all of the pictures of our kids for the past 10 years were actually going to be recoverable. And if you're like other people, you said, who cares? I haven't been on Facebook in years. It could never come back, and that would be a good thing. But nonetheless, Facebook's outage was, according to them, due to a router configuration that they just did, which basically means these routers that route internet traffic and tell it kind of where to go when it's looking for things. Basically, their configurations got screwed up and got locked down, and at least that is what Facebook is reporting when happened and caused the outage. They were out for about 6 hours. Mark Zuckerberg reportedly lost approximately $9.5 billion in net worth, of course, due to the outage. And of course, they lost tens of millions of dollars in ad revenue. And I was kind of curious as to what would happen to some of the rest of the markets while this outage was going on. I checked the NASDAQ, it's called NASDAQ mini futures, in which after hours trading was still going on. And at least when I checked it, the NASDAQ futures were down about $250. But shortly after that, when I checked and Facebook came back up, about maybe 2 hours later, it had went from being down at $250 to being up about $30. So it's really interesting how some of that news seems to have affected that market. And of course, some of the speculation and jokes was that the whistleblower report was coming out. And I've seen what that whistleblower report was about, and it's basically about Facebook knowingly allowing different things like hate speech or misinformation that they call it, because Facebook makes money the more time that people spend on Facebook, the more things that they actually click on. But I don't see how this is actually a whistleblower news, because pretty much everybody already knows that. They know Twitter does that. They know YouTube does that. They're not necessarily just trying to feed you information that they know you agree with. They're trying to feed you information that will make you click on and spend more time on their platform. It's simply a monetization model. I don't think you need a whistleblower to figure that out. And finally, to the big news for Ripple in the case versus the SEC. Now, I'm not sure how big this news is for Ripple specifically, but it's something to keep an eye on. So John Deaton, he's an outside attorney. He's representing 23,000 XRP holders who filed basically a class action lawsuit against the SEC, trying to intervene in this case. As Judge Torres noted, it's 23,000 people banding together and actually essentially countersuing or going after the SEC, who's supposed to be protecting these 23,000 people. In fact, Judge Torres, when she was making a decision on John Deaton's motion to intervene in the case, she noted that there isn't any case history that actually represents this specific situation at all. So she basically had to make a new judgment. So here's what she did. She denied the motion to intervene. Basically, what that means is John Deaton and 23,000 XRP holders can't sue the SEC. But what she did was make a determination that John Deaton now gets, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but amici status, A-M-I-C-I. It's basically the plural version of amicus. And what that means is that John Deaton is now considered a friend of the court. So what is somebody like this who gets this status actually able to do? Here's what he's able to do. It means that John now has the status of someone who will assist the court by offering information, expertise, or insights that have bearing on the case. And it will also allow John to file an amicus brief, which basically means it's insights and information that the judge can actually take into consideration when she's making a decision for the case. That is huge for Ripple. Because if you've been following along with this case, you know that John Deaton has laid out some incredible timelines, a lot of backstory information that outlines, some would call it corruption, some would call it conflict of interest from Jay Clayton, Bill Hinman, and several others involved in that backstory. But I'll put a link in the description below. In fact, I've had this in the description below several of my other videos. It's basically John Deaton's website where he's got all this information laid out, and you can read it there. You can also follow John on Twitter, as well as myself and attorney Jeremy Hogan. If you remember, Jeremy Hogan is actually the one that pointed out that there was no case history for a situation exactly like this. So in my opinion, this does actually help Ripple's case against the SEC, because now that the judge has to actually take into consideration the information that all of us have been talking about on YouTube, on Twitter, not just as conspiracy theories, but backed up by actual videos, interviews, and all kinds of hard evidence. And I know John's done an amazing job of laying this out in easy, digestible pieces. So when the judge actually has that in front of her, if it actually gets to the point where we go through trial and she's actually make a decision, that could be huge. So XRP holders finally have a say and finally have representation in this case versus the SEC. And as the judge pointed out, it's just strange that this is a really strange case in which the people the SEC is supposed to be defending are actually trying to block them. In other words, siding with Ripple and essentially telling the judge that the SEC is also coming after those people. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you think this is a good thing for Ripple, or if you think it's a little overblown and a little overhyped, and the judge is just kind of going to take that information and say, I hear you. But listen, I'm gonna talk to these lawyers over here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and check out the community tab. I post polls up there on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. Love to know your guys' thoughts, especially on this Ripple versus the SEC case, because as Q4 is now upon us, Bitcoin is climbing, the crypto market is climbing, even while the other markets were down today, especially on note of that Facebook outage. The crypto market was up about 2%, in fact, for the day. XRP, of course, right now, at least being coupled to Bitcoin, also rose a little bit. And one quick word to the subscribers of Late Night Grind. On my previous video, I mentioned that I was looking for sponsorships. I had a couple of people say to DM them. So if you actually want to have communication with me, actually go to Twitter. There's a link in my description below. You can follow me there and send me a direct message right on Twitter. I am on that. I pretty much have that open all day. So if you want to message me there, go ahead and do that. I'd really appreciate it. And also the can of Red Bull that I was holding up, it was basically, I didn't actually get sponsored by Red Bull. I saw some comments that some people thought that. Didn't actually get sponsored by Red Bull. My point was that I thought Red Bull would be an interesting fit because I do these videos very late at night and typically need a lot of caffeine. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end and for giving it a big thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.